MSNBC's Morning Joe Scarborough, who I have plenty of complaints for, had a Republican representative named Mike Lawler out of New York on his program, and he gives him a little bit of a what for. I'm actually kind of surprised to see this Republican on Republican violence. Somebody needs to do something about it because it's getting just really so hectic. Joe Scarborough, during the 2024 election, screaming and yelling about Donald Trump being a fascist and being very much like Adolf Hitler. On the day after the inauguration, him and his wife Mika packed a go bag and went straight down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss that fucking onion ring. But yet, he is starting to, come around back to where he was just 7-8 short months ago. And he's got on Lawler here. He asks him a couple of pertinent questions, and it does get a little bit heated. I'll give it up to Joe for getting a little heated with him.
You could adjust and move those billions of dollars to fortify the hospitals and the healthcare system in New York.
By the way, just to preface all of this, what they're talking about is the Medicaid cuts are going to have deleterious effects on hospitals all over the country. A lot of their, I don't want to say funding, but their source of income comes from Medicaid recipients. And when those cuts hit, those hospitals are going to be taking in less money. And Donald Trump and co. have, they've decided they're going to put this off until after the 2026 election. Those Medicaid cuts are going to go into effect after the 2026 election. He's thinking he's really cute about this, but here's the thing. Those hospitals are already factoring this in, and they're already making arrangements for which hospitals are going to be able to, remain open and funded, and the hospitals that are not. And most of the ones that are not are going to be in rural areas. But, this dipshit here, he's going to talk around the subject until Scarborough hits him up with some, a little bit of fact, and let's see how he answers.
Secondarily, work requirements for able-bodied adults without dependent children. That's something that you championed in the...
All of those young men out there that, we touted back in 2024, they're all feeling dejected, left and alone, and, they're all victims. Now, all of a sudden, they're all living off of the government tit, and they're sucking up all the Medicaid, all those young 27-year-old able-bodied young men who are just clamoring to go get a colonoscopy because that's what all 20-somethings do. They're just desperate to make sure that they can, lay in grandma's basement all day eating Cheetos, playing video games, only to leave the basement every 6 months to go get their Medicaid checkup and their blood work done. Yeah, because that's what young 20-somethings do. Oh, God. Just the bald-faced lies and the stupidity. It baffles me.
90s, Joe, as part of welfare reform when you were in the House Republican majority. So these are common sense reforms. I have no problem.
That's right. Joe Scarborough was a Republican in Congress under Newt Gingrich back in those crazy days when they did welfare reform, which is just a nice little euphemism for saying welfare cuts. Thanks, Bill Clinton, for that. Thanks, Newt Gingrich. And thank you, Joe Scarborough. So this dude actually calls out Joe Scarborough on that. And Joe is not feeling the same as he used to back in those heady days of the late 90s.
Defending it and articulating it.
Well, respectfully, Mike, the Congressional Budget Office, which obviously is a part of the institution where you serve, says that there's going to be about $900 billion to $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts. If you look at the hospitals in your own district, Montefiore Nyack Hospital is already saying because of that vote, because of these cuts, they're going to have to cut back services. They're going.
See what I'm saying? They're not waiting for the 2026 Medicaid cuts to go into effect, they're already hedging their bets. And they're already picking and choosing which hospitals are going to remain open and which ones are going to be defunded or closed.
Going to have to cut staff. They're going to have to cut care. Same thing with Westchester Hospital. Hospitals across your district are going to have to cut services and care and staff members and budgets because of your vote and because of this bill that passes. That's what they're saying. It's not some left-wing focus group or some. Well, I'm just telling you what they've said,
what they're
look. We are living in the hellscape of for-profit health insurance. That's just the fact of living in America. We are the only major country that does not guarantee health care to its citizens. Every other country has managed to figure it out but us, as if it is some kind of rocket science, far-flung philosophy that just completely eludes us, and we're just not able to solve, but yet every other major country has figured out a way to do it. Here we are in this country doing healthcare for profit. And Joe Scarborough is talking to major hospital heads that run these hospitals and these hospital networks, which, by the way, is just the de-evolution of the capital model when it comes to healthcare. We have farmed out and allowed these major hospital conglomerates to eat up smaller rural hospitals. And now that these cuts are coming into place, they're just going to be cutting those loose because they're just not going to be profitable anymore. And hey, we're here to make profit. We're not here to make people healthy. We're here to make money. And that is the problem here. But Joe Scarborough is basically quoting these guys saying, hey, money's not going to be coming in from Medicaid. We're not going to be making money in this hospital. It's going to have to get shut down. And this guy, he's got an argument that Joe's just not having.
What they're parroting is the same talking points being put out by the state and by the
so
hospital
they're parroting. You know their business better than you know their business better than they know their business. Congressman, you can keep talking if you want to,
Joe.
but are you saying that they know their business, doctors' business, hospital administrators' business better than they know their own business? Is that what you're telling us here?
No, Joe. If you'd stop putting words in my mouth and let me answer the question.
Oh, he's so offended. Look at him. No, if you stop putting words in my mouth. They're parroting talking points from the state and a bunch of other places. They're all saying the same thing. Maybe because the data is correct and they're basically going off of the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, and the numbers that have come out through there. Maybe those are the right numbers. I mean, just maybe. That's why they're quoting these figures, is because it's coming out of the fucking Congressional Budget Office. The budget that you worked up with your big, ugly ass bill. He's making it seem like, oh, this is a cabal of Democrats and they're all lying about this. If you are standing in a room with 10 other people and they're telling you you're wrong, and your excuse is, well, you're all part of this cabal. You're all part of this, group think, and I'm the only one here who is right. And your first instinct isn't go, wait a minute. If everybody else is saying the number and they're all saying the same number, nope, they all got to be wrong. I'm the only one that's right. They're all wrong. It's all bullshit. They're parroting talking points. Sure, man. Whatevs.
Number one,
you said they were parroting. You said that actually they were having the words put into their mouth. You said they were parroting other people's words.
Go look what they've actually put out, and it's all the same. It's all the same points that the Greater New York Hospital Association and that the state of New York are parroting.
They are parroting because it's the same number. 2 + 2 = 4. He is of the impression that it's 44. Everybody else says it's 4. Nope, they're all wrong. I'm the only one that's right. I'm going to talk around this subject until you stop asking me these questions that I don't want to answer.
But the bottom line is, and I've met with all of them, they have had significant challenges because of the way the state has managed the Medicaid system in New York.
Yeah, it's the state. It's New York State. It's not got anything to do with the big, beautiful bill. No, man, it's got nothing to do with that. They're not hedging their bets because of that. They're hedging their bets because of something that Hochul did. Let's blame a Democrat. Sure, man, it's got nothing to do with this big, humongous piece of legislation that is adding $3.5 trillion to our debt and cutting 17 million people off of Medicaid and 3 million people off of food stamps and a myriad of other ridiculous, wet dream Republican bullshit. It's got nothing to do with that, man. It's the state. It's Hochul.
Montefiore Nyack is a safety net hospital. 85% of its funding comes from Medicaid and Medicare reimbursements.
Exactly. So when you make Medicaid cuts, and Medicare will eventually be cut as well due to the fact of the sequester of PAYGO, when the budget runs dry and you cannot fund Medicare will be cut. Sorry, I keep going off the subject here, but the point still remains. He is trying to blame shift, not from he's trying to blame shift from the obvious reason why these hospitals are going to close to some tangential thing. Distract. Here's some dangling keys. Please believe me. Joe Scarborough does not believe this shit.
The state has cut them off for years, refusing to give them the funding that they need through various programs.
Because of Republican congresspeople in the state of New York, like you, Mike Lawler, like you. The reason why they're not getting the funding is because of you.
And instead telling them, go to your parent, Montefiore health system based out of the Bronx. So we can get into the challenges that Montefiore Nyack or Westchester Medical Center are facing. Many of them stem from the fact that the state has mismanaged its Medicaid system for years. Okay, so I'm more than happy to have that discussion. I've had it with the CEOs of both Montefiore Nyack and Westchester Medical. We fought in this bill to help Westchester Medical with respect to state-directed payments.
Come on, Joe, cut
because
his
the
office
state
bullshit.
failed to submit the state-directed payment in time. So I was able to secure a change within the bill to help them.
You're saying then, again, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, you say they're just parroting other people's words. They don't really know what they're talking about when they're talking about how your vote hurt their hospitals, that it's actually Kathy Hochul's fault. Is that the bottom line before we get on to redistricting?
Yes, that's what he's saying.
What I'm saying, Joe, is they're all parroting the same line from the state of New York and Greater New York Hospital Association. But when you actually drill...
Enough of his nonsense. What they're saying, they're parroting a talking point that is correct. They're repeating a number that has been given to them because they know that is going to be less money than they were getting before. So they are now having to make the hard choices of which hospitals remain funded and which do not. And he has completely obfuscated all of his responsibility for this shit. Him, as well as all of the other Republicans who voted for this ugly bill, this monstrosity, this dastardly cut that is just a wet dream and Project 2025, so we can cut rich people's taxes. It's the state. It's Hochul. It's always somebody else. I got nothing to do with this, man. I mean, I just showed up and just I just hit the yes button and I moved on with my day. If people's Medicaid gets cut, it is what it is, man. It's the state. They mismanage shit. I mean, we fought so hard for their funding when they asked for funding and we said no because us Republicans, we don't ever agree with funding Medicaid, but it's not me. It's Hochul. Anyway, look, there's really no good people in this particular conversation. Joe Scarborough is weak. I just told you he went down to Mar-a-Lago and kissed Donald Trump's ass after he called him a fascist, which Donald Trump is a fucking fascist, and then turned on a dime and went down there and kissed his ass because they were afraid that they were going to lose their job. And of course, when Mike Lawler pointed out that he had done something similar when it came to welfare reform back in the 90s, he didn't really have much to say about that. So I don't have a lot of love for Republican Joe Scarborough. But he's not wrong in this instance, because when you have huge, large health conglomerates, late stage capitalism as it is, and they're not going to be getting funding, those are money guys. They're hospital guys, but they're money guys for hospitals. And they know if they're not getting the money, I guess, call it an ROI, return on investment, or the money coming in from Medicaid recipients, if that money is not coming in, they're not going to be making that money. And they're not going to be getting reimbursed for that stuff. So hospitals got to close. And it's not just going to be here in New York. It is going to be nationwide. They've already talked about at least 700 hospitals closing. So if you live in a rural community in Tennessee and you got a local hospital, you might want to start talking to the doctors at that hospital to see, or the administrators of that hospital to see if they're going to remain open. Because it's very possible they could be closing down really soon. These guys are not going to wait until the last minute for the actual Medicaid cuts to go into effect after the 2026 election. They're making those decisions right fucking now. So if you live in a rural area or you live in a city, start paying attention to your hospital and which ones are going to be remaining open and which one's going to be going to get closed down. Because if it's one near you and the next closest hospital is like an hour plus away, God, I hope you don't have an emergency, because it is going to be much more difficult to get to a hospital hours away from the hospital that is open now. Anyway, Jesus. It's every time I do a story, it's just the ending of it is always just so fucking wretched and horrible. Just makes me really sad. And I don't want to see rural hospitals in red states closed down. I don't have animosity in my heart for people that live in red states, Republicans or Democrats. I don't want to see any of these people suffer. But the leadership that was elected by Republicans in red states and in blue states, they're all going to be feeling this pinch. And when it comes to healthcare, we all get sick. Nobody is immune from getting sick, pardon the pun. We all have medical emergencies. And if you have a hospital that is closing down that's near you, what are you going to do then when an emergency pops off, and your mom or your grandfather has to be rushed to a hospital? But how much rushing can you do when the hospital is now, the one that's 15 minutes away is closed, and the next closest one is an hour and a half away? That could mean your life. Anyway, I'll give Joe Scarborough this much credit for, holding Mike Lawler's feet to the fire, but it ain't looking good, folks. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.